Emily Thornberry, if it was possible to stop these people from coming back in, shouldn't we do it?
It's not possible.
But if it was possible, shouldn't we do it?
I don't know what lawyers he's been talking to. I mean, it is not what David Anderson says, and he's supposed to be their advisor on terrorism. And to be honest, you know, we had earlier a discussion about the importance of international law, about putting people up for trial. You cannot pick and choose which
actually,
laws
most people watching this programme will be less concerned about international law and more concerned that these people who have beheaded fellow American and British citizens are going to come back and do us harm. The niceties of international law are a dripping roast for lawyers like yourself, but they don't keep us safe on the streets of this country. So the reason I ask you is, if it was possible to stop these people from coming back in, shouldn't we try to do it?
This is supposed to be a battle between ideologies, right? What we stand for.
Well, it's a battle to keep our streets safe.
But we're also talking about it in terms of battle of ideologies, and we are not to lose our central ideology as a result. The Prime Minister himself said about the importance of the rule of law.
What ideology?
The rule of law is the rule of law. If they were...
The rule of law is to keep these streets and our people safe.
Absolutely.
In our undergrounds, our buses, our schools, our churches and our mosques. And not some UN convention that no one knows about. And if these people have pledged allegiance to another state, the Islamic State, why should they be let back into this country?
We should use the protection of law, of course we should. We should prosecute these people for, I mean, as people have been saying, for treason. There's a number of things. If people have been out waging war elsewhere, we should put them on trial in this country. We cannot have, across the world, it is no good for any country for there to be a group of people who are stateless. We cannot do that. It does no good for us. And if we start pulling back...
They're not stateless. They've pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. If that's what they like, let them stay there. Don't let them back into this country. What could be wrong with that?
The Islamic State is not a recognised state. I mean, we're a long way from what James is talking about that. Yes, but what are you saying? So you're saying we should start giving up on people's nationality. We will then have other countries doing it as well. When we try to send back people who we don't want on these shores,
surely we're going to,
people will say we're not having them.
Emily Thornberry, I think a lot of people watching this programme will think...
A lot of people watching this programme will feel that I'm not getting a word in edgeways.
If people are coming back to bomb us, why should they get their nationality back?
I understand that, but the fact of the matter is that you cannot start making people stateless.
Why?
If you do, there will be anarchy, because all countries will start saying, I don't like the look of you, we're getting rid of your nationality. Where will all these people end up?
But they wouldn't be stateless, they would be members of the Islamic State.
Great. So what you're saying is that we should start chucking out people who we don't like the look of. They'll end up in an Islamic State who will have nothing to lose but to fight for that state.
Can I just point out, Emily Thornberry, we haven't chucked them out. They went there of their own volition to form a caliphate of medieval barbarity. So therefore, why should we let them back in?
I'm not saying that anyone wants to let them in. I'm not saying I have any sympathy with it. But what I'm saying is the law is the law. We are signed up. We have been since 1966. We have agreed with the rest of the world. There has been an agreement that you cannot make people stateless because it is no good for any individual country or the welfare of the world.
Even if they want to come back and blow up their fellow citizens.
And then we arrest them, and then we can put them under control orders, and then we can prosecute them, and then we can do them for treason.
Well, excuse me, that didn't work in 7/7. The people who carried out 7/7, some of them were trained in terrorist camps in Afghanistan and came back and did us harm.
Yes. And what we have to do is we have to focus on making sure that we can gather evidence and bring them to law, because in the end, the law is a protection for all of us. The law is more important than anything else and can protect us, and we must not be undermining it by putting out, in my view, superficial briefings across a weekend in order to be able to get a political hit on something which is not sustainable in law.
I want to bring Matthew Hancock in on one thing, but just one final thing. You think it's a great affront to human rights that we don't let these people who want to do us harm back into the country. And yet you are prepared to put them under some kind of form of internal exile, which is what your control orders would do. You would move them to parts of the country under internal exile. Why is that not an affront to human rights, but not letting them back in is?
Because if someone has a British nationality, we cannot start unpicking an international agreement that has stood good for 50 years and has protected
since when was
us all.
internal exile part of our human rights?
It's a compromise that needs to be made.
Oh,
right?
so
It's a compromise that needs to be made. Of course you have to make a compromise, because in the end it is the duty of a statesperson more than anything else to protect its citizens. But the main way in which you protect citizens is by having a respect for the law.